personally think it was a bit of a slow news day, but this was on my radar. The old Nicola Willis.
Oh yes, I did
I would
spot this one.
love to know what you think about this thing because it made 50-50. So essentially, what Economic Growth Minister, she's now called Nicola Willis, has unveiled changes to visitor visas, allowing remote work for foreign companies while in New Zealand. Uh, Remote work for foreign companies is perhaps not the way I would have interpreted it. Probably more so foreign company employees can work while they're here on the 90-day visa.
Mhm.
There's so-called digital nomads include visitors such as IT specialists as long as they are not receiving any income from New Zealand sources. It would also extend to influencers, providing that they're being paid by overseas companies. These changes would likely apply to all visitor visas, including tourists and people visiting family, and take effect immediately. Visitor visas can extend for up to 9 months, although the minister warns that working in New Zealand for more than 90 days could require them to declare themselves a New Zealand tax resident. We envisioned, based on experiences around the world, that many of these travelers will be highly skilled people with roles that connect them to powerhouse firms and industries globally. There are jobs they hold. These are jobs they hold offshore, and they'll be able to stay connected to in New Zealand. They won't be competing for Kiwi jobs. We envision these will be particularly high value tourists, and our advertising campaigns to promote this initiative will be targeted particularly to high skilled IT workers from the US and East Asia. That kind of gives the general gist of it. The opposing opinion on this one was someone from Queenstown Lakes Mayor Glenn Lewis said the government would need to provide more infrastructure investment to cope with additional visitors, so ratepayers were not left picking up the tab. And
So
he did do a study a wee while ago about that, being like, hey, if you want more tourists here and you want them to stick around, you're going to need to fund it and help us out.
absolutely. So I had a couple of thoughts about this. The most interesting thing is I have watched the headline for this story change so many times. The first one I saw was Nicola Willis relaxes working visas for people on a visitors. Where less people on visitors visas work. Now that is a very different headline from what it's actually about. Because if you're here on a tourism visa, of course you cannot work. You cannot take a New Zealand job and you cannot derive income while you're here.
Yes.
That's not what this was about at all. As I read into the story, I'm like, oh, okay. So it's people that can work remotely while they're on holiday. And so my second thought was, is this a problem that needed solving? Like, if you come in on a visitor's visa and you're here for
People just did it
one, two,
anyway.
1, 2, 3 months, how does New Zealand know that you're doing a Zoom meeting or
Exactly.
you're logging into a payroll system to make sure that people are paid or that sort of thing? How do they know? And then how is it enforced? Is it an issue? It's not a New Zealand company. They're not earning New Zealand income. It's all happening offshore. So it's a solution to fucking nothing. The only incident that I could think of that even came close to that is that YouTuber that was in New Zealand a couple of months ago, I Show Speed or something like that, and they kind of brought up
Yeah.
the point that it's a weird situation because he's here for the purpose of work, that he's filming content. Like I would say that this is not the solution to that problem. Like for the case of I Show Speed, I would go that would be closer to, say, if a musician came here. Like it's almost like an entertainment
Yeah.
or a performer's visa would be more appropriate in that case. But again, this isn't the examples that Nicola Willis is using. Nicola
No.
Willis is saying, hey, this thing that people basically never got caught for anyway and has just absolutely been a non-issue is now extra specially not a new issue, and that is going to unlock the true potential of our tourism market. And then she's been
Yeah.
immediately dragged by the mayor of our biggest tourism centre going, well, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're attracting more tourists to this country, we need more money. We need more help. Because that is exactly what Queenstown does, whatever happens.
Yeah.
It's more, please, more money, please, more money for tourism.
She won't
Um,
give it though.
it like that was her biggest headline, and everyone I spoke to goes, "Is this what problem
Well,
is this
it's.
solving?"
I mean, I was kind of a bit the same because I'm like, well, actually, I've done the digital nomad thing, and if it's harder than it needs to be, it's a little bit frustrating. But again, if you're over there on a visitor visa, you just keep working through an internet
Yeah,
provider, and no one
who
knows the
knows?
difference. If I'm earning a New Zealand income while I'm over there, does it matter? No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
People are already doing it
it's
anyways.
just it's just an this is where we're at. Nicola Willis needed a fucking win, and she hopes
So
that
she did it.
people don't care enough to go, "Is it a win?" It's a nothing. It's a nothing announcement.
So the other thing in this was in 2023, National campaigned on a 12-month digital nomad visa, which is quite different to the 90 days, to attract skilled mobile people with the option to apply for a work or resident visa later. So that's not quite the working holiday visa, but that's basically the working holiday visa, though.
Yeah, and I mean that is a completely separate thing. Like I know,
And it allows you to actually pay New Zealand tax and get a job here.
yeah,
It allows you so
yeah,
many more things. Just get a working holiday visa.
like one of the things, like, do you remember sort of post COVID, well, COVID and immediately post COVID lockdowns and stuff like that? If you wanted to call any business that had a call center, and you were waiting for 4 hours to have that call answered,
Mm-hmm.
that's because working in a call center was a fantastic working holiday job. Lots of
Mm.
flexibility, several places you can work around the country. The
Mm-hmm.
company that I work for, we lost, I think it was 2/3 of our call center staff during COVID because they all went home, or they got trapped here and then went home. That is a completely different thing. What Willis is talking about here is nothing to do with that. It's a completely separate visa. Get a working holiday visa, come here, pick fruit, work in a call center, work in a tourism operation, self-fund your holiday, a ski field or something like that. She's not talking about those people. She's
Yeah.
talking about some high-level fucking executives going to fly here and remote into board meeting, and somehow that stopped them from coming here, but it didn't, because nobody ever asks. And how would you? How would you prove that? Like it's just mental. It's so dumb.
It does seem a bit like a non-issue and a bit of a call
It's
for
it's not taking
a
New
call
Zealand
for
jobs.
the
It's not attracting
no.
poor quality tourists. It's
It's supposed
not
to
going to
attract
make
the
any
digital
difference.
nomad who's got all the money, who's got luxury travel plans, and look, now you can stay for 90 days and continue to work, which you
Yeah,
would have done
someone who
anyways.
works for Google from a palm from
Yeah.
hut on the beach in Bali and surfs all day,
Yeah.
and then remotes in to do work,
Yeah.
somehow decided that he couldn't do that in New Zealand because he'd have to lie. No, it's weird. It's weird and it's dumb. It's pointless.
Yeah. So a slight I was still yeah. I don't know. It is a weird one. I kind of saw it and I was like, it sounds kind of good, but when you put it like that, it really is a nothing issue.
I
So
I think I think it shows a couple of things about the National Party. It shows that Nicola Willis wanted to get something in the news that wasn't talking about the ferries she hasn't delivered. And the
that's
fact
true.
that it was 3 MPs were part of that.
Yeah.
It was Willis, Erica Stanford, and Louise Upston. It took 3 of
Yeah.
them to deliver this nothing piece of news.
Why was Louise Upson even there? She's a social development?
Makes
No, social services?
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Nobody knows why they were there. It was so dumb.
It was in the airport too. You couldn't even hear them in the news story. It was so drowned out because they're in the airport. Yeah,
Yeah,
the more
pro
you look
tip for
into it, the
anyone that
weirder
knows
it
Wellington
gets.
Airport, right? If you're going to do a press conference at an airport, okay, there's obvious things there. But in Wellington Airport, there is also best ugly bagels, where if you go and order a bagel, there's 4 people that yell out your order at each other. And that's what I'd do. Is like, that's a perfect place for a press release. Peanut butter jelly bagel! Peanut butter jelly bagel! Peanut butter jelly bagel! Brilliant.